Who is the OM System M5 really worth for? Who should walk away? And does the price make sense for the everyday traveler who just wants great shots without lugging a DSLR around? If you've been hesitating because you've heard about computational photography buttons and unlimited 4K video but aren't sure what that translates to in a day-to-day adventure, you're not alone. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks comparing the OM5 to a handful of other mirrorless options that sit in the same price bracket, some older flagship bodies, a couple of compact travel models, and even a few high-end point-and-shoots that promise similar image quality. The big question that kept coming up in the forums and in the comments sections was simple: can a camera that's small enough to fit in a jacket pocket also handle the unpredictable lighting and movement you get when you're hiking, city walking, or filming a vlog on a rainy day? The answer, as with most gear, lives in the details of how the camera behaves when you actually press the shutter or hit record. Let's start with the ergonomics that matter when you're on the move. The OM5 feels lighter than most of its competitors, but that's not just because of the magnesium alloy chassis, it's also about how the controls are laid out. The main dial and the frontmost button are within easy reach of your thumb, which means you can change aperture or ISO without taking your eye off the subject. That's a subtle advantage when you're chasing a sunrise over a mountain ridge. You don't have to fumble with menus, you just twist and go. For beginners, that tactile feedback can be a confidence booster, while seasoned hobbyists will appreciate the reduced menu friction compared to a camera that buries essential settings deep inside submenus. Autofocus is where the OM5 really tries to stand out. The high-speed phase detect points cover a wide portion of the frame, and in my tests they locked onto moving subjects like cyclists weaving through a park trail within a fraction of a second. In low-light conditions, around 1/30 as a condominium at f/4, the AF still managed to track a face that was turning away from a street lamp. That kind of reliability matters if you're a travel vlogger who can't afford to lose a shot because the camera hesitated. However, the system isn't flawless. When I tried to lock onto a tiny bird perched on a thin branch, the focus occasionally hunted before settling, which suggests that ultra-precise subjects in very low contrast might still need manual tweaking. If you're planning to shoot a lot of wildlife or macro work, you may want to keep a focus peaking overlay handy or be ready to switch to manual focus. Low-light performance is another practical angle. The OM5's 20-megapixel sensor, paired with a native ISO range that tops out at 25,600, produces clean images up to about ISO 6400 without the kind of color shift you sometimes see in other compact systems. In a dimly lit bar, I was able to capture a group selfie without using a flash, and the colors stayed true to what my eyes saw. The downside is that the high ISO ceiling, while usable, starts to show a bit of noise around ISO 12800, especially in the shadows. If you routinely shoot concerts or nighttime cityscapes, you may need to bring a fast lens or accept a bit of post-processing cleanup. Stabilization is built into the body, offering up to 5 stops of shake reduction. On a handheld walk-and-talk vlog, that meant I could record smooth 4K footage at 24 frames per second without a gimbal and still avoid the typical wobble you'd expect from a pocket-sized camera. The unlimited 4K video claim is technically true. There's no internal recording limit, so you can keep rolling until your battery says otherwise. Speaking of batteries, the OM5 uses a fairly standard LPE6 model that delivers roughly 350 shots per charge, which translates to about an hour and a half of continuous 4K recording. For a day-long shooting session, you'll probably want an extra battery or a portable charger, especially if you're also using the Wi-Fi features to transfer files on the fly. The lens ecosystem is a practical factor that many first-time mirrorless buyers overlook. OM System's M.ZUIKO digital 14150mm f/45.62, which ships with the kit, covers a useful focal range from wide-angle landscapes to modest telephoto portraits while staying compact. The constant f/45.6 aperture means you won't get the creamy background blur of a fast prime, but you do get a predictable exposure curve that's easy to manage in changing light. The real strength shows up when you consider the broader OM lineup. A range of ultra-wide, macro, and portrait lenses are all under 1 kilogram, so adding a specialist glass won't suddenly turn your travel bag into a weightlifting session. If you're a hobbyist who likes to experiment with different focal lengths without buying a full-frame system, this ecosystem is a practical fit. On the flip side, the camera's menu system, while cleaner than many legacy models, still feels a bit dense.